Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Hope all is doing well, and hopefully this stream holds out. The other one was getting a little flaky. The Wi-Fi was okay the other day, so hopefully we hold out. Let me check volume. I always, just to be on the safe side, sometimes it drops between videos. Again, while I do this, guys, if you enjoy the content, if you dig what I'm putting down, and you find yourself coming back here often, please feel free to support the content, share it, like it. You can support it through Patreon if you're definitely loving it, or through Super Chats. All right, so take a look at this. I'm going somewhere with this, but I need a little leeway. Dynasties. Bushes and Clintons and Obama, how did he get in? All of these guys, among them, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 presidents and a wannabe who failed twice, once to a black man and once another one to a reality show host. She's standing right there behind the other president. The schoolboy philosophy kind of way about politics, people go to the polls and they vote for people who ideally is going to to Washington or to their local place, but in this case we're talking about Washington, and representing their interests. You, as a worker, as a person who's functioning in this particular society, in this particular time frame, which of these people do you believe was out there fighting and representing your interests? Who do you believe was pushing for your interests? I mean, my answer would be none. I suspect a lot of people who watch this channel answer would be none. But I know there are going to be some wayward people who somehow stumbled into this place in some weird way, just open a wrong door. And they're going to say, definitely Obama. I mean, hell, they call the guy a socialist. That's socialist, just so we're clear, gave 95% of the wealth to the top 1%. He admitted himself. Don't take my word for it. Take Obama's word for it. That's socialist. Running amok in the White House, giving all of that money to the 1%. To the 1%. It's like the opposite of a socialist. Even the job gains. Again, not coincidentally, 95% of the jobs, part-time or contract. That doesn't look like a socialist to me. Not to mention this utopian idea that you can keep the healthcare companies a part of healthcare while providing healthcare. We're going to let them make their massive amounts of profits while at the same token providing great healthcare. How did that work out? Still millions of people without healthcare. We allow tens of thousands of people to die. Not because we can't afford it, which is the key point. Beyond that point, and just to make a clear point on this, in a schoolboy philosophy kind of way, those people are actually supposed to represent your interests. They are actually supposed to be out there enacting legislation that is in your benefit and in your best interests. And do you honestly believe that that's what's taking place? Do you think with 50% of the population not voting that 50% believes that anything that they do from the standpoint of voting would affect their lives? Half of the country is poor or low wage. I would put to you that a lot of those people don't get involved because they don't believe it affects their interests. This is me yesterday. I don't typically smoke. In fact, I don't smoke at all. I was at a dialysis facility because I was trying to procure a treatment. And in doing so, I was about to get raped by the person who was administering the treatment, meaning the facility itself. Dialysis in Nairobi was about $100, give or take, depending on what kind of facility and what suite you wanted. In Kenya, in Egypt, the guy in Cairo with the grin on his face The grin on his face because he knows, oh, we're getting paid today. Because ultimately, you need to get a treatment. And this person is going to offer one. You should not be paying more than $100. If we're being honest, maybe 150. They're getting $250. Now, the reason I say this, I'm sitting here with one of the guys who's there. The guy, he offers me a cigarette. I take the cigarette. It felt impolite to turn the cigarette down. And there's another gentleman who's sitting out in the waiting room. Mind you, this is a clinic. He's offering a cigarette. I love it. There's another cat, smoothest man on the planet, smoothest man you would ever meet in your life. And he's sitting there smoking. And I assume that the guy is Egyptian. And he's not. He's Egyptian, but he's German also. It's like he lives in Germany. And in this like really suave accent, he's like, "How's it going?" I'm like, "It's going okay." And I'm like, "Oh, my bad. I didn't realize you spoke English. You're Egyptian." He says, "Yes, I'm Egyptian, but I live in Germany. I come back here for the holidays, etc." And so he's like, "If you don't mind me asking, how much are you paying for treatments? And how do they handle treatments back in the States?" And I explained to him, in probably more detail than he wanted, about how Medicare covers a certain percentage, how there's a gap, how that gap has to be covered by insurance, and all this nonsense, in a way that you have to organize your life around this stuff. And then from the standpoint of going abroad, no coverage. Like you have to figure that stuff out on your own. And as I'm telling him this, he's just sitting there like shaking his head. And he's like, "God." He's like, I don't know why you guys would do it that way. Because to him, that makes no sense. Why on earth would your government allow capitalists to get their hands on people in this way? "Oh, you have a broken bone, pay me. Oh, you have a broken back, pay me. Oh, you have cancer. Yes, payday, pay me." Why? Why would you have all of these people who are invested in your illnesses to some degree? Are you really going to turn down the guy who says this cancer drug is X amount, this cancer treatment is X amount? You have cancer? No, you're probably not. You don't even ask for a price. His point is, yeah, we would never allow that. We wouldn't allow the prices to be that way. And so, in your country, much of the healthcare costs is not necessarily costs from somebody using it more. It's capitalists getting their percentage out of it. So we pay twice as much as everyone else, even though we don't get as much treatment, and even though we're ranked like 30th in the world or something. He's shaking his head. That makes no sense. In Germany, they cover his healthcare. If he goes to any of the other facilities in Europe, and even the facility that he's going to in Egypt, they cover his healthcare. Take a look at this. And this will be my last. Take a look at this. Healthcare lobbyists secretly secure Democrats' opposition to Medicare for All, internal documents show. I've read this document before because I found this to be explosive. And more explosive than what people have been giving it credit for. What it boils down to is Democrats in Hawaii would tell their people one thing, their constituents one thing in speeches and everything else, while at the same token, leaked documents that the Intercept was able to procure showed that those same people who were advocating for Medicare for All in the open, behind the scenes to the healthcare industry, was singing a different tune. They were telling them the truth in their public and their private positions. Of course, those were the private positions, which case is probably more true. In private positions, it was skepticism towards this idea of Medicare for All. In many of these cases, the health lobby loved the perspective that these Democrats was taking. I think it was one that says, need a little bit more education on this, but overall. I look at this and assume for the moment that I'm somebody in Hawaii. Assume for the moment I'm someone in Hawaii. And I understand the fuckfest that is our medical system from the standpoint of somebody who deals with a medical issue. If I get that, in a flesh-to-bone way. And not even a flesh-to-bone way, a flesh-to-wallet way. Because anytime you travel and you have to figure this shit out, you realize and you know that you're having to do something that none of the other people in the other countries have to do. At least those with civilized healthcare. And I see these shills that are being bought. It's bribery. Call it what it is. It's legal bribery. Ultimately, these people are going to get money and funding for their campaign for taking a particular position that they know is going to give them access to that money and campaign. They don't have to have a conversation with the people. Meaning, I don't have to say, I'm going to give you all of this cash if you take this position. You already know it. It's baked into the cake that you're having a conversation with the lobbyists. So I look at this as somebody who deals with a medical thing and who has to negotiate and figure out ways around it, paying all of X for healthcare, or trying to negotiate Y for healthcare in elsewhere, other countries. And I see these two-timey, squishy turncoats that are out there lying to their public, the Democratic Party in Hawaii. Why would I vote for that? Why would I vote for that? Honestly, explain to me. Why would I vote for that? I see that, and I say they're not representing my interests. They're saying one thing behind and to my face, and they're saying something else behind the scenes. And not just that, I am personally invested in the thing to which they are lying about. Why would I vote for that? Is that not a fair question to ask? Now, I put this way, and I named this video, Jimmy Dore is fundamentally right, because I've made this argument on more than one occasion. And from my perspective, when I've made an argument a lot, I guess it's like a singer singing a song over and over again. They get tired of the song and they move on to something else and they talk about it in a different way. But the original argument that I've made, going all the way back last year, is sound. Ultimately, this idea that you're going to continuously vote for something that is not representing your interests and somehow that magically is going to represent your interests is nonsense. It's nonsense. They're assuaged by the likes of the Cedars of the world, the one concentration camps less, that is willing to settle for one concentration camp less. And that be enough to move on and carry on, continuously voting for this thing that's not representing your interests. And in this case, fundamentally lying to the population. They're attacking Dore for this. Now, it's not that everything Dore says is right. That's not necessarily the case. It's more so, these are attacks on the man, not necessarily the ball. And fact is, the position is right. They just don't like it because these guys are in the ass of the Democratic Party and they can't necessarily fathom a world outside of that context. So in this odd way, believing that if you're continuously doing the same thing that you've always done, you somehow get something different. Politically abused spouse of the Democratic Party. Fact is, if they had more standards and more red lines, they will be more inclined to get something accomplished, as opposed to this understanding that there's going to be a faction of people that whatever we do will stand there and willing to vote for us. At some point you say no, and at some point you move on. At some point you say no, you move on. A person who looks at that is not wrong for saying this guy is flaking on something as basic as this particular issue. They're not getting my vote. I don't care who's on the other side. They're not getting my vote. It's called a standard. It's called a red line. I don't quite understand this argument that you shouldn't have standards in the way that you go about your voting affairs. My point here is Dore's basic case that you should vote for people who represent your interests is not wrong in the least. And this idea of criticizing Ocasio-Cortez, yeah, from his perspective, she's flaking on some of this stuff. So he hit her for it. They don't like that. And so they attack Dore. They attack Dore. Look, I think part of the problem here is these attacks are hitting people on the left and using terms like dumb and useful idiot and all this other stuff. Here's a basic point. Is right. You vote for people who represent your interests. And if those people are not the Democratic Party, then they don't get your vote. It's a standard. It's a standard. maybe those standards, if they were in place a long time ago, we would get different results. Jimmy can start a no party. It's not that it's just no, if that makes sense. I mean, look, I think you would agree with me that the only reason that the Unity Reform Commission ever came into play was because millions of people walked. Like millions of people say, I'm done. I don't want to have anything to do with this. A, they cheated me, and B, this kind of hope and change stuff was just kind of a grim nothingness of ugh. I'm walking. It's the walking that changed things. When Joe Manchin came on to TYT, do you honestly believe that Joe Manchin wanted to be on TYT? Joe Manchin came on to TYT because he thought he was going to lose his seat. And believing there was a chance he was going to lose his seat, he came on to plead with people he considered to be on his left to vote for him, saying, I'm not a horrible guy, please vote for me. It's the potential of loss that motivated the behavior. You have no movements. There's all of these things have been crushed. There are no unions, at least not necessarily something that's been used in force. The unions that have been out there, at least the leadership, have been encouraging the people to fold early. What you have is the capacity to say, no, I'm done. That's what you have. That's what you have. And by the way, it's their losing also that informed this idea of the Unity Reform Commission. They lost over 1,000 seats. That's a level of failure that's breathtaking. I understand some people don't believe that the Democratic Party care about losing. They care about losing. I'm sorry, they do. And that's not necessarily a great rock to have, but God damn it, it's a rock. God damn it, it's a rock. Mike asks, I vote, but it's the least I could do. Yeah, it goes beyond voting. I'm talking about just how most people's public will is expressed in the political space. That's all I mean. I understand there are other aspects of this than voting. I'm just talking about very specifically from the standpoint of how people express their will through voting. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. We used to always laugh at the Tea Party types for voting for leaders who don't represent them. I know. The thing is, you know, this idea of always voting against somebody else is like, you know, blacks, Hispanics, workers, terrified of the Republicans, so you can get this political gamesmanship where Democrats don't really have to represent their interests because they're just there to protect you from the boogeyman, where the Republicans, for the most part, can play on special interests in order to get elected. This allows a certain gamesmanship that pushes out public will. Now, I'm not of the mind that public will is broken, meaning the political space is completely broken. Ossified, yes. The more people have to work and everything else, the less time they devote to this type of stuff. But it's still there. It's still there. It's still there. And with public will, it does work. Jimmy's beef was about Andrew Cuomo was still going on. Like Kayla Johnston saying never apologize to progressives. I don't know if she said that. I thought Kayla Johnston said you shouldn't apologize to that asshole. What's his name? So yeah. Retain status quo. Don't waste your time. It's retain status quo. All right. I'm going to end this. I'm not going to keep this one long. Shane, that's his name. That asshole. You say you're excited to vote for the party if it's Bernie. How will things change? No, like I said vote for the person who represents your interests. I don't give a shit about the labels. I care about the person. You're focusing on the party. I care about the individual who's there. I don't have this idea that the Democratic Party is going to change. I do have an idea that there are going to be some people, regardless of their label, be it green or something else, that will try to affect change. I'm not necessarily the most trusting on this. this is a war and you're going to lose it. It will always be a contest between Democrats and Republicans. You're not going to change the politics. But that's just it. Politics has changed. I mean, even from the standpoint of what Clinton and Reagan was, it's a departure from what politics was before Clinton and Reagan. I mean, it does. It does change. Was it Shane Barr accused of being a CIA government barber? Yes, he was captured. Yeah, he was captured. They said he was a CIA asset. And then he gets mad when somebody kind of mentions that. It's like, come on, dog. Come on. Bernie would break up the media, and Banks doesn't need a vote to do it either. Right there, that's kind of what I mean. There are people that are radical departures from what came before them. If you don't like the game of politics, Jamarl, you need to find another place to work. This is how the game is played. Nobody cares about integrity or honesty. It's politics. No, that I agree with you. To a point. I agree with you to a point, Tom Darkseid. Legend. I agree with you to a point. You sound a little bit more cynical than I am. Right, yeah. Yeah, I think you're a little bit more cynical than I am. See, I think people do care about those things. But whether people care about those things or not, and those things are possible to have in the political space, is different. Like, honesty is hard in politics, right? Like, and I can see it just even from doing the show. Ocasio-Cortez comes out. I like her. Jamarl isn't a Democrat, so I understand why he does. Yeah, I'm not a Democrat. So Ocasio-Cortez comes out and she does something and you're like, oh God, why did you do that? Why did you do that? Now, what do? You're stuck. You have a situation. Do you say something or don't you say anything? Well, you have to say something. It's your show. And your show, if it's based on this idea of, okay, you be honest to the degree that you can be honest, then you say something because that's your show. But from a standpoint of you being a human being, you wanted to see something affected in the world. You don't want to do that show. You don't want to do that show. So yeah, yeah, honesty is hard in politics. It may be even impossible. So fair enough. Fair enough. Yes, thank you. Paul Thompson. Thronson, I love that. This is like Thor. In an age where journalism is sensationalized entertainment, integrity matters most. I think people do just want what's true. Just tell me what's true. I think people are yearning for that. It's like, I just don't want to be bullshitted. Everybody's gaslighting me. Just fucking tell me what's true. The problem is, this idea of what's true is, there's this aspect of what's happening in reality. There's some objective reality out there. Or maybe there is no objective reality out there, but something takes place in the world. How people regard it is to some degree going to be dependent on how they grew up, lived, and everything else. And even if there was no fiscal or political or ideological motive associated at all in getting it across, there'll still be points of view. There'll still be points of view. Now, I am okay with engaging in points of view like that. That's okay for me. That's not that big of a deal to me. There will be some cases where I'm pretty sure I'll be heated, but it's honest. It's the non-honest shit I don't like. It's the financially motivated or politically motivated. Well, this guy's a Democrat, so this guy hates everything that Trump does, so even if Trump does something good, fuck Trump. You know what I mean? It's that stuff. That's the stuff I don't particularly like dealing with, and that's the stuff that's a pain in the ass to deal with. To some degree, I believe Sam Cedar is engaging in this, but I can't necessarily be certain of that. It's just, it seems coordinated. Cedar, Pac-Man. Cedar, if you watch that video where he's trying to say the Dore is scamming people for money, he can't even look into the camera. He can't even look up. He can't. He's like, well, I mean, I think he's, I don't want to say this. I would wager that he had a little bit of shred of integrity left that bugged him and it plagued on his conscience to even bring it out of his mouth. I've watched multiple videos where he's, because I love his libertarian stuff. And when you watch his libertarian stuff, he's amazing at shredding libertarians. And at the end, one video after the next, please give me money. And so it's a little bit weird to hear somebody say Jimmy Dore is trying to get money from people when that guy's at the end of his video saying, please give me money. I mean, for fuck's sake, anybody that's doing this, that's doing videos, to some degree, are doing with this idea of getting some level of income from it. Especially if you have a show. Sam Cedar is a show. Jimmy Dore is a show. I consider this to be a show, even though it's not big time. It's like, shit, man. Yes, Jay, it is possible to criticize Jimmy Dore. But I guess my thought is this. You don't see anything wrong with saying that Jimmy Dore is doing this for the cash. Like, come on, let's be honest. Let's be fair. You don't see anything wrong with saying Jimmy Dore is doing this for the cash. And even this thing of, you know, Jimmy Dore is a useful idiot. And Jimmy Dore is this and Jimmy Dore is that. And flipping out with one show. Jimmy Dore doesn't do shows on Sam Cedar. Cedar continuously does shows on Dore. So it's like, come on. For fuck's sake. Both of these guys are supposed to be within the same sandbox. They may have a different strategy of going about their goals. But Cedar has taken this approach of just going after Dore. Yeah, he looks jealous to me. He looks jealous. And it looks like it's this idea of, oh, he's doing this for the money as a way of attacking Dore as opposed to attacking the idea. Yeah, you can attack Dore without annoying me. And if you want to be honest, I didn't do a video on this, trying to avoid doing a video on this. I tried to avoid doing a video on Dore on this. Cedar sound, he is jealous. I think he's jealous. I think he's jealous. It's one or two things. Or three. He probably really does fundamentally disagree with Dore. Meaning, you know, I think you should have voted for Hillary Clinton. I watched when them two got into the argument the first time. He never let that shit go. And after Hillary Clinton lost, at that point, he just lost his goddamn mind. He's like one of those people who hate Susan Sarandon. Yeah, man. You can totally hit Dore. I've done videos hitting Dore. I guess it's the way you go about it, and that just seems really just massively fucked up. Yeah, it's just really fucked up. Check donations before you do every stream. Alerts have been down. Oh, really? Have they? Okay. Thanks, Belt. Yeah, their alerts have been a little weird. Yeah, man, you can hit Dore. It's just of all the things to talk about and to go after. Cedar, for whatever reason, continuously finds the need to go after Dore, and then have Pacman join in, and Ben Dick join in. Yes, I know his name is Dix. I use Dix as derisive. I wish I was a better person. I'm not. All right. Yeah, man. Toxic. Equalize. Your smooth ASMR voice is always 3 times louder than your clip volume. If you reduce your mic volume in OBS, the max out, your massive volume should equalize. Oh, good to know. God, man, how do you know this stuff? Pac-Man. Chris Pac-Man is so outdated and shitty, he makes Gallagher look innovative. This is what I was afraid of. Once you apologize to one neoliberal corporatist sheepdog, the neoliberal wolves in the sheep's clothing come out of the woodwork to smear. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Toxic work environments. I've worked in toxic work environments before, and it seems more and more like TYT has always been one. From Jen acting condescending and straw manning to Anna gaslighting while claiming to keep it real to Hackman and Sam Sheepherder. It does, doesn't it? It does, doesn't it? Because, yeah, you're right. All of those people are associated with TYT, and so is Jimmy Dore, which means that Jimmy Dore is in that particular environment. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm going to end this one because this one wasn't expected to be long. Like, but it gotta go. Be well. Thanks, Angie. All right, guys. Sam Cedar is jealous of Jimmy. That's exactly what it looks like. That's exactly what it looks like. He wishes he could raise money at the same rate as Jimmy's. Rob, man, we are a like mind on this. We are totally a like mind on this. Sam even said it in one of his videos about the whole lemonade stand or something. Talking about if Jimmy sells his brand of lemonade, Jimmy is going to get more people, and so he has the, it's that type of stuff. Jimmy Dore is not the biggest anti-war boss. I never said he was. I never said he was. And to be fair, Jay, he may be to somebody. Like, come on, that's contextual. That's contextual. Yeah, that's contextual. All right, we're fighting in the chats. Jimmy doesn't lie. Jimmy lie about what? Sam Cedar's design is so Partridge Family and old. Did you find medical? Yeah, I found the place. The place was I got there, so I got there late. I don't usually talk about the clinic stuff, but I'll talk about it in this video. I might cut it. I might cut it out though. I gotta be honest, this has been so fucking stressful. So I originally I had somebody, I had a fixer. And I'm just calling them a fixer. That's not really their name. It's something like coordinator, something like patient something coordinator. And her and I got into a pissy email back and forth, and she dropped me, and so I don't have a fixer. So now I got to do this shit on my own. Up until like a month, which means finding London and all these other places. So it's like, in addition to that, doing the other stuff that's around. That's all. It's just a pain in the ass. But I found it. The cabbie dropped me off at the wrong place, and I'm like walking through the streets trying to find the place, and it's this area that's like you could never find it. You can never see it on the street. You can never see it on the street. So Pac-Man and Cedar are establishment Democrats, maybe controlled opposition. So that's the other part, right? I mean, Cedar, maybe. I mean, Cedar seems to be more MSNBC-ish to me. And so whatever narrative they pick up, I would imagine Cedar will somehow pick up with maybe a different tone to try to get certain, groups in. Pac-Man, though, doesn't come across that way to me, even though he may toe the same line, if that makes sense. Jamal's a streetwalker. I am a streetwalker, Jay. I am a streetwalker. I still cheer for individuals. What those people in power would do, it would affect people in the entire country. That is true. Pac-Man is an idiot getting upset over his subscribers leaving when he thought it was spares. I saw that, right? So I laughed at that. It depends on how many subscribers leave, if we're being honest. Like, if you're running a show and people start leaving, the problem is, though, you started attacking somebody, and how can you be upset? Like, how can you be upset when they leave if they don't like it? I don't know, man. It's just funny. It's just funny. All right, I'm going to end this. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the Patreon. Thanks, guys. I'll see you shortly. I have a few more planned for today.